Hi, I'm Isabella. My dad is obsessed with reality television, maybe even more so than I am.
She's not wrong.
This is Check Me Boomer, a father-daughter weekly dish on the latest in reality TV. Hi, Dad.
Good afternoon.
Welcome back. This is our next episode of the Check Me Boomer podcast, and I'm looking forward to talking about some reality TV with you.
Me too. Today is Sunday, July 19th. By the time this comes out, it'll be July 20th, episode 7.
All right. We are planning to talk a little bit about the Love Island USA finale. Not much there. We're just going to kind of wrap it up. We'll definitely be focusing on Love Island UK this episode. There's a lot going on over there. I think we still have a couple more weeks on that season. And then we will follow that up with some Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders. We have both seen the new season. And then our Bravo shows, Atlanta, Below Deck Med, In the City, The Valley, Next Gen NYC. And then if we have time, then we're going to do a game at the end. So stay tuned.
Great. And I think it's called America's Sweethearts.
Yeah, something like that. Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders, America's Sweethearts, I think. The show on Netflix.
Quick summary of the audience that we've gathered. 17 countries have listened to the podcast on 4 continents: North America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. United States is by far and away the number one as far as listeners, but Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, is still holding strong at number 2 with listeners in 3 of the 4 provinces. The newest countries, Ghana and Hong Kong. And then in the United States, it's spread across 30 different states, including DC. So we're getting out there, but please share among your friends.
Yes, it helps a lot more than you would think. So I have a few things to say about Love Island USA. I know that you're very much over it, so I'll try and make it quick. For the record, my predictions from last episode were nearly correct. Bryce and Trinity did get the win. Kata and Zach did come in 4th place. What the difference was is that Melanie and Sincere came in 3rd place, which was actually the better outcome in my eyes. I think they shouldn't have even been there in the beginning. The finale was long. It was 2 hours. We saw dates. Kata and Zach and Melanie and Sincere, they had some pretty lame dates. The other dates were sweet. We found out Bryce and Trinity were in love. I was thinking that maybe Sincere would ask Melanie to be exclusive or something, but no. And then the last thing I have to say before I have a quick shout out is I like how they did the end of the finale, whereas usually they do a declaration of love when they're all sitting at tables. I liked how they did this kind of memory video with clips from their families and clips from random celebrities, which was weird, but I liked that more instead. I will say I did cry multiple times during the finale. What? So I think I'm just soft now. I was thinking about this last night, and this is kind of a theme for a lot of these shows, is in my real personal life, I'm very much a skeptic in relationships, for me at least. However, when it comes to television, I am kind of a hopeless romantic. I'm really rooting for all these couples, genuinely, except for Melanie and Sincere, I'd say. I think she needs better. And then the last thing I'll say about the season altogether is I think Ian, the narrator, just deserves a shout out. He's been funny. I think he's been dogging on Sincere all season. We don't really talk about him much, but I think he kind of makes the show. So I just thought he deserved a shout out. He does UK as well.
He is good.
He's great.
He's had some seasons better than others, but some of the one-liners are really good, and I really enjoy that as part of the overall way they do this show.
Yeah, it keeps it light too. It never gets into Bachelor territory where it's heavy. Ian always keeps it light. So
the only thing I'll add is it was as boring as I anticipated. I didn't think it would be that long, but it gave me a chance to catch up on other things while I was watching, like reading books. But what, if anything, has happened since then that you've seen on the socials or interwebs? Anything that's worth noting?
I would say nothing crazy. They're all back home now, so they're back in the United States. Some people have been pretty active. Carl and Anaya have been pretty active on social media, and others have been not at all. I don't think we've heard anything from Melanie at all. So, which I guess I can kind of understand. She's probably like dealing with what just happened and who is this man that I'm with. And so I think we'll see more as time goes on.
When you say active on socials, you mean just posting, or are they already into brand deals?
No, well, I don't know. I don't think there are any confirmed brand deals at the moment. I think that all of them have lots of brands in their comments saying like check your DMs. So I think it's coming, but I think we're still kind of in the first week. They're spending time with their families, and just Bryce and Trinity posted a nice picture of both of them thanking all their fans, and nothing more to really report there at the moment. But we do know that the reunion has been confirmed for August 31st. That's when it's airing. So hopefully we get some drama happening until then.
Is there a reunion every year?
No, I think they started the reunions a few years ago for USA. Maybe Serena and Cordell's season, I think, was the first season they did it. I might be wrong, but that's what I think it is.
I found myself just wondering about random things because the finale was so boring. I wondered about logistics, like how long, what's the host name again?
Ian.
No, not the narrator, but
Ariana.
Yes, sorry.
Ariana Maddox?
Sticking with the theme of not remembering names. I was wondering, was she in Fiji the entire time, or were they shuttling her back and forth? Because both seemed a little bit challenging. Going back and forth to Fiji, I'm imagining it's a pretty long flight. But on the other hand, staying there for that many weeks, she has other stuff going on. I found myself wondering how they do that.
As far as I know, I think she stays there the whole time. I think she's been doing that for the last few seasons. She's just been spending the summer in Fiji.
Okay, I'm going to have to look into it just to see. It seems like a lot of time to be in the middle of pretty much of nowhere.
For sure, but also seems like it would be kind of nice.
Up to a point, but doesn't she have other stuff going on?
I think Love Island is her biggest gig, for sure. I think that probably comes over any other brand deals and whatnot. And she could still do these brand deals in Fiji.
Do you follow her on social media?
I definitely follow her on our Check Me Boomer socials, but okay. I'm not sure I am really looking up what she's doing all the time either.
Okay. All right.
So, any last words on Love Island USA for 2026?
I can't wait to see how many of them are broken up by August 31st. Not that I'm encouraging, I just don't think that many of these are going to last. I share your skepticism in general.
Do you have any predictions?
No.
No, okay. Well, in that case, then I guess let's move on to UK.
Let's do it.
We had a pretty hefty week in UK. Lots going on. We had Snog, Marry, Pie. We had a hideaway threesome. We had Love Island Fest. We have couples in love. So, we have couples being super questionable. Finley. So let's... I say we get into kind of where the week started off with this hideaway threesome where Alicia pulled Finley and Aiden both into the hideaway and decided to make up her own game and do Truth or Dare.
Right.
So...
And they got away with it. I'm just... My mind is blown that they said, but it was a game. A game you made up. What? It wasn't a challenge. Come on.
Yeah, they're like cheating.
Right.
This.
Yeah. But if you call it a game, it's okay.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that before, where a bombshell kind of pulls a couple guys aside and makes up her own game. I think it's a new one.
I've got to give her credit. She's coming in hot. She has to because she knows it's at the end of the season,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got to get one of them to leave their partner to have a chance of staying in. And brilliant that she said, "Let's just play truth or dare," and the two chumps fell for it. Like they looked at each other. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm sure
so
my accent is not going to be well received.
it's not great, but it's okay. We're very Americans. I have more to say about Aiden later, but Finley has really deeply, deeply disappointed me this week. I probably did mention it last week too that I called them my winners before. Finley, I gave him a little bit of credit for setting a boundary to not kiss her, but he just went and ruined that later in the week. So I guess to just quickly go over Finley. Finley's obviously with Ellie. Uh, Alicia, the new bombshell, is clearly interested in him. She ends up recoupling with him. She steals Finley, which really, really pisses off Ellie, especially because when this happened, he hadn't spoken to Ellie all day. He's kind of telling Ellie, "You're still my priority," where he's telling Alicia something totally different. I think it's super cowardly that he's not being 100% honest with either of them. And then they go out on this double date because of Finley and Alicia are now coupled up. And Finley decides to destroy any small amount of credit I gave him with breaking his own boundaries and kissing Alicia. I guess I should say after the kiss, Finley came back and decided, oh no, Ellie is the one for me. That's who I'm going to focus on. He kind of broke it off with Alicia, even though he was still a little bit iffy there. Unfortunately, Finley was in the bottom boys in the dumping that we just saw. And the Islanders dumped him and Martha. And unfortunately, Ellie followed him.
Well, look, I think it's pretty clear that Ellie's been my favorite, but I wrote down in my notes for Finn, the only thing was SMH, right? Like, come on. You had it in the bag. You were poised to win the entire thing, and then you just floundered. And then Ellie, I get it, but she kind of gave in, right? She caved to him. She didn't stand on 10 toes or whatever the way they say it there. But so I felt bad. But once he left, she should have left. And so it's disappointing that she's gone. But her being there by herself would have been lame. She just wouldn't have been this. She would have been mopey and boring. And plus, it doesn't help that I've got to come up for like a term like dad's weariness, but at this point in the season, I'm weary of it too because it's just the natural way the show goes. It sort of ends and the drama mitigates, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Well, what I forgot to add was this little tidbit of information that we got from Cavan, where I guess Finley, and either this wasn't aired or it was and we both missed it maybe, but I guess Finley told Cavan kind of after Casa Amor that he was getting bored of Ellie. And that's kind of a big deal because that would make sense why he's ditching Ellie to go talk to the new bombshell. The one thing I will say about Finley is he's clearly not in it for the money.
No.
Because he and Ellie, I really do think would have won. So I guess I'll give him that. But yeah, I think he's cowardly. I think he's a loser. I think he's just not a good guy. He's not like mean. He's
How
not mean to anyone, but
how old is he?
how old is Finley? Let's find out.
I ask because he comes across as young. And maybe if he's only 21, then that would explain a lot more.
He's 23.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're all pretty young. So I get it, but also I think like a lot of the girls and even the boys towards the end were saying because the both of them started roasting him. Even the boys, even Aiden was starting to get on him. I think to their point, they were all saying you're allowed to go explore Bombshell. You just need to be completely honest with both women honest about your intentions, honest about what you're doing, honest about your boundaries. Don't be saying one thing and then going back on it. Don't be selling a story to either one of them. So, yeah, I think he has a lot of growing up to do. I hate that Ellie followed him out, but like you said, staying wouldn't have made any sense either. I just, at this point, I wish she would have left days ago and
Right.
not like saved herself the embarrassment. I know clearly I think she probably loves him, but hopefully she comes out and kind of sees the light. We'll see.
Fingers crossed. You
Yeah.
mentioned the Snog Mary Pie game. Of course, you can guess what I thought of that game.
Boring.
So dumb. Just come on.
That's a classic, though.
I know, but they should move on, right? Retire that game.
I don't think they can retire that game. I think you're a little bit too picky. Like, you want maximum drama, which I get. And Snog Mary Pie does bring drama. It's just not what you wanted.
Right. And you're right. I want it to be efficient, right? Give me the maximum drama and the least amount of time. And that goes to one of my other comments. The whatever the title of the game was that they had after, I'm using air quotes, the Love Island Festival. I don't know how you have a festival with just 8 people, but that was fine. It had better drama, but it also could have been done a little more efficiently. Like, do we have to watch them listen with the headphones on and wait for them to walk up? Just give them the card. Let's edit it, right? Make it faster.
Yeah, that I can agree with. The editing should be a little bit better, but I think it goes both ways there in that they're not overproducing the episodes, and I like that. But to your point, there are parts of the episode like this that could probably be cut down a little bit. I liked the premise of that game. I think having it anonymous was going to be messy because they were going to, at least in my mind, I thought, oh, they're going to be arguing, trying to figure out who said what, and they're going to try and keep it a secret. And it didn't end up turning out being as messy as I hoped it would be, of course. The most interesting thing that came out of that was Martha and Jordan just became friends. Spoiler alert, they were dumped in the same dumping as Ellie and Finley. I don't think there was much. I mean, it was their time to go. And then Aiden voting for Kevin and Jasmine, his own brother, for the couple that brings out the worst in each other was certainly a choice.
Right, right. I thought he was pretty good at explaining himself away, even though he probably should have been smarter and not picked his own brother.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
even,
don't pick your brother.
Alicia even said, "That's your brother."
Yeah.
I had a note that Aiden and Priya, it is coming across as, hey, it's the end of the season. We need to connect and be a locked-in couple. Otherwise, we're going to get voted off. Or we're not going to make it to the Final Four, or there's no chance of us winning. They might still like each other, but the timing just looked sus.
It's definitely suspicious. You're not the only one that has thought that. I think even Priya bringing it up at one point, I think she asked Aiden, like, well, who do you want to be in the final with? And I'm not saying for sure she was saying it like, oh, well, we should couple up because we'll make it to the final. I think she was more saying it like, who do you want to spend the rest of your time with? But still, it's not a great look considering I think people have wondered if Priya's playing a game the whole time, and the same thing with Aiden. Aiden is just getting on my last nerves. He's so messy. He's so involved in everyone's situation. He was giving Finley the worst advice I've ever heard. I mean, telling him, like, oh, well, if you feel something there, then just keep like, you don't have to make a decision right now. Like, no. Terrible, terrible advice. I guess we did definitely see Priya and Aiden get closer. It was weird how it happened because they're both kind of talking to their own bombshells. They set a boundary at one point that they weren't going to kiss each other, but then once they're in the couples with these bombshells, they are. So they're just confusing me. But by the end of the week, they have decided they're only for each other. for now at least.
Right. And I think that this goes back to the editing and the end of the season. It's that the producers are struggling to figure out what to focus on. And so this is as much as they can focus on. This is the most drama that's going on. And so it's, in the grand scheme of things, not that much drama. So it's just more annoying. It is my sense. It's in the back of my mind that I'm annoyed that that's what we're looking at. And this is all we can focus on.
Yeah, I get it. I think a lot of these situations are pretty dragged out. What I failed to mention is that Lola and Sean got dumped at the beginning of the week. So we had a public vote at the beginning of the week where Yulia and Lorenzo were voted either favorite couple or most compatible. I don't remember which one it is. But either way, they had to choose someone to vote off among Lola and Sean, Mika and Samraj, and Martha and Jordan. Lola and Sean kind of offered to leave.
Right.
And I think they more so did that. I think Lola more so did that to avoid being dumped by Yulia, her sworn enemy. But, I mean,
I give her respect for doing it. In contrast, Mika and Samraj also volunteered to leave today in the dumping, and they weren't chosen to be dumped, but then were so butthurt after it. I kept thinking, wait a minute, you two were saying you would leave. You didn't get chosen to be kicked off, and now you're all miserable about it. And I get it, that part of it is wondering how much people in the country might not like you because you're in the bottom, and that I can't understand how much that would weigh on someone, because no one can until you get in those situations, which I will give you a heads up. There's an analogy to the America's Sweethearts Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders when we get to that.
Okay. I agree with your take on their issue with being in the bottom. I think it is mostly that they just don't know why, and it just sucks to not be liked. But also, I don't think Samraj needed to go pull Yulia and ask her why she voted for them, because you guys were offering to go. So.
Right. I was a little miffed when he did that, and I didn't think it would go very well, but he was very calm. He was measured. She did not push back too much. It didn't seem to bother her. And it was a classic Love Island UK potential for incredible confrontation, but it ended up being just a discussion, and they walked away. I think that they're fine.
Yeah.
That would have not happened the same way on USA.
I don't know, though. It
At
just,
least in
on
prior
USA,
seasons.
it just depends. We don't see many blow-ups in USA either, so I think we usually do Casa more. But so, yeah, I agree, but I also think that your opinion on that is maybe a little bit overblown, because I think that's just a Love Island thing in general. Like, I think the girls always want to, because they have to live 24 hours a day with each other, I think they're a little more likely to want to make up sooner. Whereas on our Bravo shows, they get to go home and be with their own people. So you don't need to make up right away. You can kind of let it go a little bit.
Right. And they're actively watching what's going on social media, and they're posting while they're recording, so that pumps them up and gets them, or deflates them, and then they get a little bit more irritated, angry, pissed off in between tapings.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And to that point, on the other side, the Islanders don't see social media and they don't hear from the outside world, but they know that people are watching them. So I think that they're maybe a little bit careful. Obviously, we see moments where they're not, and they do kind of blow up a little bit. But I think that the reason that they're more measured makes sense to me, I guess.
Right.
We saw Simba and Angie are in love. Great for them. They, as much as I've given Simba crap for the entire time we've had this podcast, pretty much, they've grown on me a little bit, and I know that face you're giving me right now, I see it. I don't know, I see it. He still sucks. Like, he annoys me. I think he's an idiot, but if she's happy, then I'm happy for her.
Do you think they'll be in the top 4?
I could see it going that way now. Because if Simba wasn't even voted into the bottom men, that means I'm not the only one that he's growing on a little bit.
People deserve second chances, I guess,
They do. Now,
or third or fourth chances.
good one. Yeah, good one. I don't even want to talk about Finley anymore. I was going to say something about Finley being so unbelievably defensive after that game when they gave him walking red flag and he's like, well, Kevin and Simba, you did the same thing. Like, just take it on the chin, bro. You sound like such a loser at this point. Just take it. And then the last thing we saw in today's episode was Jasmine expressing some uncertainty about. She seems to think that she feels further along than Kevin is. She said that she feels like she's annoying him sometimes, that maybe he doesn't feel the same way that she does, and that's not a good sign.
Right.
Not at all. And that sucks because I'm really rooting for her mostly. You never want to feel that way, so that sucks. But I think that's pretty much all I had for UK. I think next week we're going to see more fallout from Jasmine and Kevin and the dumping. And I think they're probably going to start wrapping it up now.
Right. I think the other day they said there are only 2 weeks left.
Yeah, I remember them saying that. So once we get to that point, we're going to start. You're going to get super bored. And it's going to start being more lovey-dovey. And yeah, we'll see if they bring back the baby doll game.
What would be really good is towards the end if they bring back the people who've been voted off and have them weigh in and throw shade. It's kind of like almost a mini reunion where they say, "Hey, by the way, this," and maybe I'm misremembering USA versus UK, but I can't remember. I know they've done that before. I can't remember which of the two.
I'm pretty sure they usually do that on All Stars.
Oh,
which is UK.
Right.
I agree. I think it'd be a great idea to bring all the other Islanders back in. I'm just not sure if they're willing to. All Stars is shorter and they have less people, so maybe it's a budget thing. I don't know if they're willing to get every Islander that has since left gone back to the UK, if they're willing to fly them all back to Mallorca.
Right.
But I would love to see it. So, yeah, I agree.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about next?
Okay. Do you want to talk about America's Sweethearts, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders? I do. So, look, it's on Netflix. I just looked it up. It's a 2026 Emmy Award nominee. So, I have to admit, when I started, this is season 3.
So is Summer House, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Ariana also was nominated for Best Host for Love Island, just for the record.
Oh, good. Okay. So this is season 3 for the 2025 season of football. And going back to season 1, I watched it first. I thought it would be a hard sell to get you to watch it because your normal reaction would be, this is exploitative. This is not good for women. And look, I concede the fact that part of the attraction literally is that the women are beautiful. But going beyond that, I love the style of this type of documentary. The producers hardly ever say anything. There's no narration at all, really. Every once in a while, you'll hear them ask a question.
Really quick, I just want to shout out the man that makes those documentaries. I'm pretty sure his name is Greg Whiteley.
Yes.
He's also the one who has done Last Chance U and definitely other documentaries that have been big. But yes, I agree. I really like the style.
Yes. And in no particular order, these are just random thoughts. I saw in the first couple episodes, I knew that social media was going to have an impact. And it turns out to have a very big impact by the end. And that's what I was referencing when we were talking about Love Island, how I can never understand how hard it might be for someone to wonder how they're perceived by the public. But in this season of Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders, they see it in real time. And you can see they go from the highs of finishing a game, and then they're on the bus and they're looking at all the hate and it's vitriol that they're receiving. And so I give them credit for being able to go through it. Watching the voting, going back to the beginning, where they're picking the members of the team, the squad consists of only 36 cheerleaders. This season, 30 came back as veterans, and they're almost guaranteed a spot, meaning that there are 6 spots for something like a total of 61, 30 of those being veterans. And the other thing, over the 3 seasons, they are incredible athletes. The things that they can just do, period, are incredibly challenging. And then for the time that they have to do it during the games, they're up for about 12 hours, it seems like, on game day. They show one episode where it went into overtime, and they're doing it in cowboy boots. And I just can't, I've walked in the streets with cowboy boots, and it kills you. And I can't imagine that they're doing this. A couple of other random thoughts. This might be sexist to say it, but it was shocking to me that there was no girl drama. If it happened, they didn't show it, but I would think that a documentarian would be pretty quick to show if there was some conflict. And with that many women, type A personalities, look, if it was 36 men, I would be shocked if there's no drama. But I have this belief, your mom tended to agree with me, that there's more likely to be some drama among women, but there was none, at least that they showed this season. The woman, Reese, wow.
Love Reese.
She is, there's something about her. She is one of the most beautiful women I've seen in a long time. She reminds me of Linda Carter, who was Wonder Woman back in the day. And I also felt horrible about the young woman who had grown up with a cleft lip and a missing tooth. It made me want to go back in time and start a GoFundMe to like pay for her to have a tooth. Like, her history and talking about how painful it was, but she never talked about it with anyone, was just, pulled at my heartstrings. There were a lot of other great ones. Klein, Faith, the woman from Australia who has no idea about American football or anything about American culture at all.
Yeah, she was fun to watch.
Yes. And then I think you and I both shared the same favorite, or one of the favorites, Emily. She goes by Emily A. I believe her real name is Emily Aubrey. And she's not Reese as far as how beautiful, but there was something about her where I just told your mother, I said, I don't know, there's something about her. She is awesome. Not just what she says, but something about her look. And she went through some ups and downs, and I kind of thought about you, and, she clearly has some issues with the anxiety that comes through. And I thought she was going to spiral and just never even make it, but she made it almost to the end. I think she was in one of the last groups, maybe the last 3 that they cut. And she had one of the most graceful exits, didn't cry, was incredibly thankful. And it's tough because a lot of them, they show them getting cut and they're all gracious, but they're usually overwhelmed with emotion and have a hard time saying anything. The other difference for this season, in prior years, they were paid next to nothing. In fact, last year there was a big kind of, they almost went on strike and they got a pay raise. They had been getting something like $15 an hour. Most of them had other jobs. They had to have other jobs just to live in Dallas.
And like you mentioned earlier, being a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader is a full-time job. I mean, these are the game days are 12-hour days minimum, I think. So, yeah.
And now with the social media, they didn't say that all of them, but a lot of them are making quite a bit of money. One of them said, I get $5,000 for this. This other thing, I get $50,000. And that person, I can't remember which one of the women it was, she didn't even have the most followers. So I can't imagine how much the others are getting. I think this is my last comment, that they have makeover day. And it was really giving America's Next Top Model to me, where they weren't as dramatic as what you see on what we saw on America's Next Top Model back in the day, but they still, you could tell that some of the people were not pleased with what was being suggested for changes.
Yeah, I have a few comments on makeover day specifically. I think it does remind me of America's Next Top Model a lot. I felt like I don't even know how to describe it. I just had a pit in my stomach when that man, the hairstylist, was talking about the sweet, short little blonde girl. I don't know her. Is her name Savannah?
Savannah.
Okay. Yes.
Without
So,
an H.
all right. So they were talking about how they wanted to make her strawberry blonde. And I knew how it was going right away, that I just really saw that they tried to do it. She looked better before. I think even Kelly and Judy, who you did not mention, they're pretty much the heads of DCC. They're the coaches, the bosses, the all of the above, the choreographers, everything. So as soon as she came out with her new hair color, you kind of see Finley and Judy. Finley? You kind of you kind of see Kelly and Judy make this face that you see it in their eyes. They're not a fan. What sucks is that she ended up getting cut, and that kind of goes along with the little bit of dark energy that I get from this show. And don't get me wrong, I really, really enjoy this show. I binged the whole thing. I've seen all of the seasons. I love Klein. I love Reese. I love Emily. I think these girls are amazing. Where the darkness comes in is, like you said, the bullying that they're getting constantly, which I'm not trying to make this like a big thing, but I do think it's a bit of a microcosm of how society treats women, but I won't get into that.
There was also some darkness that was more prevalent in last season, where they talked about the risks to these women, and they referred to it somewhat obliquely when they were focusing on Reese in one of the later episodes, and talked about they would show a security guard, and then they would talk about how they have to be careful and be more watchful. I think in last season someone had a stalker, which if they didn't, it would shock me, because there's so many crazy people out there and they're so high profile. And I think they made a point of saying that at least in some of these events, there are more fans there for the cheerleaders than the team. I think that's probably a preseason game, not during the full season, but they have fans who are diehard. Most of them appear to be women, but I'm sure that there are men out there that are, deranged, and they weren't as specific in referring to that, but you could tell it was on their minds. Probably especially Reese, because everywhere they went, they'd say, "Who was your favorite cheerleader?" Reese, Reese, Reese. Now, they were only interviewing women when they asked that, but maybe by design.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I had to say about the show is I like to see that Kelly and Judy are kind of noticing how big that these girls are getting, and they seem to be more there for these girls emotionally. I can't help but wonder if they're only doing it because they're on TV. I don't want to believe that, but I can't help but wonder that, cuz then you'll hear it slip out where they'll say like something like, "Oh, well, I mean, all the women before you had to do the same thing." And that I don't like to hear, because you can still make progress beyond what the women before you did. You can still respect them too, and the path that they've given you. And I don't know, that questionable, but either way, I like to see them showing a little bit more grace to their cheerleaders, and trying to understand them more emotionally, I guess.
Well, in your comment that someone says, "Hey, other people had to go through this, you need to do so too." That is I don't want to say generational thing, but an age thing that I find myself. I see people in the workplace and they're getting benefits or treated ways that we weren't, or they don't have to do things that I had to do. And I say, well, this isn't right. You need to do it just like I do. And people, I'm sure, said that about me when I was young, or people in my position, and I bet you will be saying the same thing in 20 or 30 years.
Yeah. My only point there is, I guess, if all of these girls would have continued to listen to that, they would have never gotten this pay raise that they got. They wouldn't have fought for the pay raise.
Right.
So that's my only point there.
I'm just bummed that the season's over and it will take another year that I think they could have, in hindsight, gotten all of the episodes in
I think they could have
without.
added a couple more.
They could have, but also they could have done all enough of the episodes even before the game started. So 6 or so of the episodes we're focusing on before the team even plays. And then the last 2, they cover the entire football season because they show how they don't make it to the playoffs and end on a disappointment. So it causes an unnecessary, for me, delay in releasing the episodes. It would
Yeah.
almost be better if they did a split season. Show us the first 4 episodes soon. They're probably going through it right now because
Oh, they know. I think the team's been decided.
okay, and then they do the next 4. Like I get it. They probably are anticipating, what if we go to the Super Bowl? That would make for some great television, and they want to make sure that they encapsulate the entire season in case there's something crazy that happens. But do it like Formula One does. Give us, part of the episodes and then come back later and do some later. And maybe I'm misremembering Formula One, but
No, I think that's a good idea. I think definitely the draw of the show is training camp. But then once you've kind of watched these girls and you get to know them, then I would like to see more of the season. I mean, I thought it was interesting when I forget who was injured or sick or something that they had to call one of their older girls that's not technically on the team anymore because she was at the game
yes.
and she just came and did it for the like. I would like to see more things like that. I think
Yes.
that'd be interesting.
It was Reese who was hurt.
Yeah, and
I hope she moved back to Alabama because
she did.
Okay,
She
great.
did.
I feel a lot better because even before they said we might be moving back to Bama, I was thinking in my mind, girl, you need to move, right? You need to leave Dallas. That's the only way you're going to reduce the amount of attention. Now, I do know that she has something like 1.5 million followers just on Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to avoid the spotlight, but living someplace in Alabama, I think you're probably a little more sheltered, but not completely.
Yeah. No, I think she's going to be a lot happier in Alabama. So good for her.
And I know that her husband got a lot of grief, probably because people thought that he outkicked his coverage or something like that. But they seem to go very well together. And it's really, she loves him and obviously he loves her. So I just thought that was unfortunate.
Yeah. I remember there being one comment that he made that I didn't love, but I can't even remember it. So it couldn't have been that bad. Yeah, she made the right choice, kind of making it her last year and moving on because I think that she's such a sweet girl and she doesn't need all that bad energy bringing her down. All right, what do you want to talk about next?
How about Next Gen NYC?
Okay.
So I will start off by saying that you had read something online about, in the prior episode, we saw the beginning of Riley going at it with Georgia and then at Ava at some bar. And Riley was looking a little bit like she had a few too many drinks and was maybe being a little abrupt or rude. And then you saw something on social media about the episode before we even watched it about how people were coming down on her. And I thought, oh my gosh, what could she possibly have done to cause this much grief? She must have come out and said something, I don't know, about ethnicity or sexual orientation, which I just didn't even think would come out of her mouth. But after I saw this episode, I get it. She accused Georgia of using or abusing ketamine, which I thought was pretty strong to come out on camera and say, but she was obliterated, right? She was hammered.
And like then, white girl wasted, like bad.
Yes. And Ariana was trying to protect her, and a lot of them kept saying, like, let's just leave, and she was having no part of it. So it was bad, but I would give her a pass on all that because people get drunk, people say stuff, and
she's 22 years
right,
old.
Right, and and she did apologize, but what I think is the source of the online hatred was that after she apologized, she doubled down and continued to blame Georgia for triggering her, and including in front of Ariana and blaming Ariana and saying, it is Ariana, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Blaming her, saying, you should have stopped me. You should have stepped in and said something to her. Can't you concede that she was triggering me? She's aggravating me. No,
Yeah.
you're crazy. Unless they edited it out, even if she was being a little bit passive aggressive, it doesn't justify to come at her with ketamine use and then threaten to throw.
You're also missing that she mentioned like, oh, I bet you can't even afford a Birkin.
Oh, that's right, right.
Like,
You
girl,
can't be part of this conversation
none of
because you
us can
can't
afford a
afford a Birkin.
Birkin.
If she's affording a Birkin, it's probably because of her mother.
It definitely is.
And then there was the part in the bar where she picked up a glass and looked like she was going to throw it at Georgia, and they stopped her. So again, the behavior was bad, but then her just like lashing out and trying to blame everything on someone else, projecting, that's what really galled me. And I just thought, okay, now I can see why people are pissed.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think clearly Riley was wrong in this bar with the ketamine comment and the Birkin comment, but also she is very obviously hammered.
But she was sober when she apologized, and she was sober
Yes.
when she was talking to Ariana in the apartment.
And I do want to make it clear that being drunk is not an excuse to treat people negatively. It's not at all an excuse. Neither is being young. And I think, again, Riley was wrong, but she did apologize, and Georgia even forgave her. So I really think the big thing here is how she was going at Ariana, who was actually a very, very good friend to her. I even wrote in my notes earlier in the episode when this whole thing was happening at the bar. I wrote down Ariana is a really good friend. She's trying to get her water. She's going and getting her pizza. She's telling her to like calm down. It's okay. So yeah, for Riley to really come at her after that and say, you didn't defend me in the way I wanted you to. She made a comment, and mom had mentioned this to me too, because she was like, why did she say like you didn't grow up like me? I think her point there was that they both grew up very, very privileged, Ariana and Riley. Ariana obviously grew up more around white people, and Riley grew up more around black people, and I think that's kind of Riley's point, is maybe you didn't defend me how I grew up learning to defend someone. But I don't necessarily think that's on Ariana. I think Ariana even took that very well. She's sitting there not being defensive. She's like, okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. What can I do differently next time? I think Ariana took it perfectly. She really does seem to have a good head on her shoulders. What made me laugh was that Rowan, who is Brooke Shields' daughter, she was kind of stuck in the apartment while they're having this conversation, and she's like the one who's hosting the party that they're supposed to be at. So I thought it was funny, the text coming and the camera on her room being like, I can't leave yet.
I also like there was another scene where they were asking Rowan in a confessional, did you even understand what they were talking about? She said no. And I love that she not only did she not understand, but she didn't give a shit and was just trying. I don't think it was the fight scene. It was some other dispute, not the one that we're talking about with Riley
Yeah.
and Georgia.
Yeah. I think she's funny. I think she's going to be comedic relief in a similar way to how Riley was last season. Not to say that I think Riley's not going to be funny anymore. I think she is, but I think Rowan's so new that she's going to be a bit of a side character that we enjoy. The other thing I had to say about NYC is I like the little Easter eggs that we get sometimes. Like they threw in the Easter eggs, maybe is the wrong term, but I like how they find any reason they possibly can to throw in the Teresa table flip clip. I love to see Candy on my screen, even if it's just her scolding Riley. And then what I also liked was when we found out that, well, I guess Meredith was having a heart to heart with Brooks. And she said, listen, people can change. I just got a text from Angie K. Just these little thrown in here and there references to other housewives.
Right.
I enjoy it. Okay, where do you want to go next?
How about the Valley?
Okay. I have two things about the Valley. One was a Lala quote. Blocked me, referring to Naya, I guess. Naya. I still don't know how you say her name. Blocked me as if she was a lineman in a prairie dress.
I thought that was good.
Great line. Great line. Oh, what bothered me about this episode is all the men are going over to Danny's house to like have a party for his testicles.
Yeah, I guess before he gets the procedure
Yeah,
of
yeah.
vasectomy.
So what bothered me in this conversation is they're talking about Janet and the story that Janet shared. I really did not like at all how Luke and Danny were talking about this, specifically a comment Luke made saying, "Oh, well, I'm this happened 10 years ago. Well, I'm not surprised she changed her story then." Like something along those lines of like not believing her story.
That's not going to end well for them.
No. And what I loved was Tom Schwartz jumping in and saying, "No, that's not really cool." Like,
Well, there were two things. In the live part, or the part where they were recording in front of each other, he just said, "Hey, let's focus on today. This is about Danny's nuts. Let's talk about something else." But in the confessional, that's when he said, "Hey, this is a better time to kind of like step back and listen," which it would have been better if he said that in person, but at least he said it afterwards.
It would have, but I do give him credit for being the only man that had that kind of sentiment.
About the vasectomy party, that is just obvious that both Danny and the producers are desperate for content.
Yeah.
Because that was lame. I have had a vasectomy, and the fact that he had to get laughing gas and be put down on a table, and that it's pathetic. It's not a big deal. And he was sort of crying out as if it was painful. The most painful part is the injection that you get for the local anesthetic, and it's not that big of a deal. And it does take 5 minutes. I was awake for the entire time. I could see the smoke coming out from the cauterization. And the worst part was when the guy ripped off the tape where he does the classic, "I'm going to count to 3, 1," and then rips it off. I'm not sure how much of this we're going to keep.
I'm so glad that I have this image in my head right now. So glad.
I just, he's a baby, or he's hamming it up for the cameras, or both, but pathetic.
Yeah. Loser.
Yeah, just suck it up.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have anything else to say about the Valley. The Valley and In the City, these are both very boring shows. Just for the record.
Yes. Room for improvement.
There is, but
you want to transition to?
Yeah, I don't have much to say about the In the City either, and I do get these two shows mixed up constantly. That single mom comment that Whitney made, that's not going to end well for her either. You gotta avoid that topic at all. I get what she was trying to say, but you don't say that, especially with the nanny thing. It's not something you should say at all.
Well, but I do see her point that if you're a single mother and you're struggling and working 2 jobs, and like what most people, or at least I think of when someone says a single mother, and Lindsay is making money by posting shit on TikTok and doing television commercials, and she has a nanny. So it's not like there are married mothers who have a harder time than she does. And I get what she was thinking in her head, Whitney was thinking, but to your point, sometimes there are things you just don't say out loud.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think I did understand what she was trying to say too, but as a non-mother, I am not a mom. She is not a mom, Whitney. I think when you're not a mom, you can't say something like that. I mean, you shouldn't say it, period. But yeah, I think I don't know what she was thinking.
Right.
I kind of laughed out loud when Kyle said that he thinks that he and Amanda as a couple have fans. Like that I was like,
oh, I missed that.
What? I guess he said, what was the context? They were talking kind of towards the end of the episode about like making the decision, like calling it off, and Kyle I think he said in his confessional, like, it makes me kind of sad for me, for my family, for our fans. I'm like, Kyle.
Maybe he meant our as in for the entire TV show or the shows, the fans.
Yeah, but I would argue that the fans wanted to see you break up.
Right.
So I don't know about that, but
That there is one redeeming quality to the show is that there will be a reunion. So it'll be kind of a summer house reunion too. At least I'm sure they're going to bring up the summer house conflict again. I
and
hope there's a reunion.
it's gonna be next week,
I think
right?
that's right.
Okay, yeah. So that'll be interesting. Excited for that, but I don't know if this show is gonna get renewed.
Maybe not.
Let's see. Atlanta. Not much to say there. I think the headline there is the Shamea versus Porsha fight, where let me find what exactly they even said about each other, because it was
about their parents.
Yeah, because it was nasty. Okay, so Shamea accused Portia's mom of trying to sleep with Shamea's dad. And then I guess Portia's saying that Shamea's mom slept with her dad's brother. It's just messy. For those who don't know, Shamea and Porsha have been friends since they were kids. So it's kind of a tough watch. I also don't love. I'm always gonna be Team Porsha because I love Porsha, even though I acknowledge she has a questionable relationship with the truth. But I love
That's
her.
a very polite way of saying
Yeah,
that sometimes she lies.
Yeah, she's been caught lying multiple times over the years, but I think she's for a TV show, I'm usually rooting for her, but I did not like how it seemed like most of the group was against Shamea, especially when they're in a foreign country. I did like that. Was it Kelly that followed her out? I think it was Kelly. So that was nice, but the way that the rest of the women are kind of dogpiling on her is kind of icky to me.
Not as icky as the foul mouth language out of these. And I know that sounds like a grandpa saying it, but
You're right, though. You're
I turn
right.
to your mother every time, like, I thought that was just last episode or the one before that. But every episode, they come up with something where I thought, do you understand that you're on camera? That do you regret talking about some of the things you do? And I don't even want to repeat it. And again, I'm not a prude. I cuss like a sailor plus, but just ladies, leave it alone.
It's just a little graphic.
Yes.
Like they get very graphic with the way that they speak
about their own anatomy or worse.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but yeah, I'm with you there.
It's another show where it's easy for me to catch up on current events or read a book.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say about Atlanta, watching them do those little games and trying the haggis was enjoyable TV for me, similar to what you said. Like, that's kind of, I can read stuff on my phone while I'm watching that, but it's still enjoyable. I love that they don't stop bringing up this Angela Bigfoot joke. There was a quote that did make me laugh. I don't remember who even said it, but they were looking for Angela. They were like, "Oh, where is Angela?" Someone said, "Oh, her foot must have got caught in something. That's why we don't have her here." It's ridiculous, but every time they say something like that, it makes me giggle. So, okay, let's move on. Below Deck Med.
I didn't take any notes. I did see the episode, so I did my homework.
Well, I don't have much to say there, except I think we mentioned last time this whole Luke and Nathan Sheets that kind of came to a head in this episode. I think it's going to continue next episode. Jen and Luke had a conversation where Luke finally was very clear to her that I don't see you like that. I see, like, I'd rather Joy, who's the chef, I see her more romantically, and I'm not really into you like that. And you can imagine Jen's reaction, because that's not a cool thing to say. And he started getting nasty too. I forget how the exact conversation went, but I remember.
Is that a threat? Are you threatening me?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So he was all whiny about it, even though he's the one who's kind of the wrong one in this situation. What ended up happening is Jen goes and tells Cooper what happened. Cooper's the deckhand with Kat, I believe is her name. Cooper then goes and tells Joe what happened.
Right.
who then shares it with Nathan. And this is all happening right before they're about to pick up a new charter. So you see Nathan, his wheels kind of turning, and you see kind of the smoke coming out of his ears, I guess is a good way to say it. You can just see him getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and I think he's gonna go talk to Sandy.
Yes, they showed that on the preview. And it was interesting that at first he kind of laughed it off and he was making jokes, including calling him names in reference to what had happened. But then I don't know if he thought about it more and realized, wait a minute, this is going to be on television and I'm kind of giving him a free pass and I should be reacting differently. Or he finally thought about, look, that's disrespectful, or some combination
It's
thereof.
also, I think he said multiple times, and Joe too said that's like a health hazard.
I don't know about
that
that.
might be a stretch, but
Right.
still, it's that at minimum, it's absolutely disgusting. Maybe it's not bad for your health, but I do think it's what's the word I'm looking for? Not dirty, but
Unsanitary, gross.
unsanitary. It's completely unsanitary. Yes. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes. I think Luke should lose his job. He absolutely should. And they have him on in the confessional saying, I can't believe I might lose my job over something like this. You should. You should. You animal. I mean, come on. Aisha's great, by the way.
She is.
We love Aisha. Her face when she found this out, and she's like bringing in all the what's it called? When they get all the food for the next charter.
Oh, yeah, the provisions.
Yeah, when they're getting all the provisions, and Aisha is like hearing what's going on, and her face is just so funny.
I made a comment to your mother that Aisha is very similar to Ellie from Love Island UK, and that she can take one word and draw it out into 3 syllables.
Yeah.
And we've had this discussion about who would be the top reality TV show people to hang out with, and Aisha's been on the list, and I can never keep it straight, but I thought, what if you went out with Ellie and Aisha drinking? It would be insane.
Yeah, would be a crazy night. But that's all I got for that, too.
Okay. Do you want to play the game?
Yeah, I think last time we played this game, we didn't really explain it enough. So what I'm going to do is I am going to share with you, the audience, who I'm going to show Dad while he is out of the room, so he will not hear. Then I will proceed to show him the image of the Bravolebrity or whoever else, and he's got to guess who it is. The first one is Whitney Rose. So I will go ahead and share the first one with you. This is level easy, by the way. We'll see if you feel the same way. Do you have your airdrop?
All right, I have the picture. It's Whitney from Salt Lake City, Rahaslassi. Something Rose is the name of the cosmetics or whatever.
No, bingo.
What's her last name?
Rose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right,
so you got it.
yeah. Ha.
Okay. The second one is James Kennedy. Let me try and send this one to you. This is level medium.
Okay. It is Vanderpump Rules. He's a British guy. He's one of many who's a DJ. God, what was his name? He's not on the show anymore.
Well, the show doesn't really exist
Right,
anymore.
but he wasn't even on the last season before they did the revamp.
He was.
Oh, okay.
I think. Pretty sure he was.
Give me the first letter of his first name.
J.
Nope.
That's James Kennedy.
Okay. Yeah. Oops.
But yeah, you knew who he was again.
Okay. All right. Next.
Okay. The third one is Mia Thornton. This one I think is going to be hard for you, but maybe you'll surprise me. We'll see. I'm going to just send the screenshot again.
Okay. I think this is Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's Mia from Real Housewives of Potomac.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Her last name, it's Mia Thornton, which first name is good enough, especially for this one. I mean, She's not even on Potomac anymore. She does live in Atlanta, so that was correct. So 1 out of 3, you actually got, no, 2 out of 3. You got 2 out of 3. Okay.
And I got the show on James Kennedy.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So not bad. Not bad at all this time.
Okay, great. See, I did better than you thought.
Mm-hmm. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the little game we did. If you do or you don't, let us know. We are, as always, happy to receive any sort of feedback. And we...
including other show suggestions. We did the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders on our own, but if there's something else that we should watch, let us know.
Yeah, we will always have availability for new shows, even though, again, we do have full-time jobs.
Right.
But hope all of you wonderful listeners have a great week, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks.
That's our episode. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for listening.
If you like the show, leave us a rating or a comment. It helps more than you'd think. Follow us wherever you're listening and on social media at Check Me Boomer.
And tell a friend who'd get it.
See you next week.